Okay, so what I'm going to show you in this particular lesson is really just a demonstration. It's entirely optional for this particular lesson because there's a few things you need in order to secure a site with HTTPS, and that's what this one is about. And the first thing you need is a domain name for the sites that we're publishing here. So I've just got a subdomain called reactivities@trycatchlearn.com. And what I also have is a certificate for this particular domain. And we can see the connection is secure and the certificate is valid. And if I take a look at the certificate, then what we can see inside here is that there's a subject alternative name for reactivities@trycatchlearn.com. So this is providing security for my network traffic between the client and the server. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through the configuration on the server as well, and the sort of steps you need to do to go and get a certificate. But the first thing you need is a domain name. And of course these need to be purchased from a domain name registrar. And once you have that, then you can go and get the certificate or purchase a certificate, because again, this is something else that needs to be purchased. So I'm just going to run through the configuration on the server where this is hosted. And what I'm going to do first of all is just show the list of sites that are enabled in Apache. So I'm just going to say Apache 2 CTL-S, and this is going to show a list of the sites and the virtual hosts that I have running on this particular instance of this particular server. So I've got two configurations, one for the same as we had before, running on any IP address on port 80, but specifically this one's got a server name attribute rather than just running on the IP address. And I've also got the same for port 443, the HTTPS port, for the same server name in this case. And I have two separate configurations for these as well. One's in sites enabled reactivities.conf, and the other one's in reactivities-ssl.conf. So in order to enable SSL on Apache, there is a command that you can use to do so, and that would be sudo a2 enable mod or nmod and then just SSL. But this is already running on my particular server. And if I go and take a look at the configuration for the sites that I'm referring to, I'll just take a look at the running on port 80 first of all. So I'll just display the contents of this. And what we can see is there's very little going on in here. What we've got is on the port 80 request is the server name, which is the host name of where we're going to. And all that's in here is a redirect, a permanent redirect to HTTPS and then the HTTPS version of this particular site. And if I do the same, but I take a look at the SSL configuration, so I'll just copy this into my clipboard. And let's just do the same, and I'll just output the contents of this configuration. Then what we can see is we're using a virtual host on port 443, same server name, and this time we have the SSL configuration inside here. So we make the SSL engine on, and then we point it to the certificate file, and this is what you get back from the certificate authority that you purchased the certificate from. And they'll create this based on a certificate signing request that you have to pass to them so they can create the certificate. What you also have when you create a certificate signing request is a key that's associated with that specific certificate. And this key never leaves the server. It always remains securely on your server, so nobody can ever get to it. It never leaves, it never gets sent to the client. You don't give this to the certificate authority. This is always private to your server. And there's also a certificate chain file in here as well that the certificate authority provides that also needs to be specified inside here. The rest of the configuration inside here is exactly the same as we had before. Now the only other thing that I haven't demonstrated is that you would need to generate a certificate signing request. And just to show you what this would look like, I'll just paste it into my clipboard here. So this is just an example, and again, this is just a line of code I've copied from the certificate authority where I bought the certificate that I'm using. And this command is going to give us a new certificate signing request. And what this outputs is the private key and the certificate signing request itself. And this is just a demo, so I'll just press return just to show you what you get from this. And you need to specify a country name, so in my case it's going to be GB. And then a state or province, and I'm just going to say London. And then the locality name, and again I'll just repeat London. And then the organization name, and I always just put IT in this. And then the organization unit name, in fact, the organization unit name should be IT, and this should be the name of the company. It'll still work, but be more accurate than I'm demonstrating here. I'm not actually going to use this certificate signing request for anything. And then the common name, which is going to be the name of the site, and the one that I've used that I've demonstrated is reactivities.trycatchlearn.com, but because this is just a demo, I'm just going to say sitename.com and press return, and the email address I'll just say bob@test.com and press return. And then we get some extra attributes to be sent with a request, which the certificate authority should ask for, and I'll just put password in there, and an optional company name as well, and I'll just say Reactivities as the company name. And what this gives us, if I just take a look inside my directory here, we get the site name.csr, and this is what we use to send to the certificate authority, and we also get the private key. And keep this one safe, because you definitely need this, otherwise you'll never be able to use the certificate that you get back from the certificate authority. So inside the certificate signing request, if I just display the contents of this, then this is the certificate request that you would use to go and get that certificate. And as I say, this is only going to be useful for this particular key, and the certificate you get back is only useful with this particular key. And then the rest of it is as I've demonstrated in the configuration. And once you have all of this in place, then you'll be able to go back and see your site being served securely from the server. But the big question is this as secure as it could be? What happens if I test my site against a site that's designed to check our security headers? And I'm just going to go to securityheaders.io, which takes me to securityheaders.com. And if I put the address in of my site and I hit the scan button, then we get an F, which is highly disappointing, and it's worse than being back at school. So what we'll do is we do get some information that goes along with this and things that we can do to improve the security of our site. And what we'll do next is we'll take a look at what these headers are, what we can do to apply them to our server, and we want to turn this F into an A or an A+, and we'll take a look at how we can do that next.